What's that song?
Emerging out of the 2013 underground rap scene, a small group of artists would form a collective. This group of artists were platformed on the now less popular website Newgrounds. It's not less popular.
It is less popular now than it used to be.
But I like Newgrounds. This group of artists were platformed on the website Newgrounds. This group, or collective, would soon be coined as Exordium Music. However, it would later be changed to the present name Exociety. The group has been a revolving door over the past decade. Many artists have come and gone. Eventually, the 5 artists that would remain as the biggest of the group were Rav, serving as the organizer and director of the group, Kill Bill the rapper, probably the one that Rav collabed the most with over the years, Square, another friend of Rav's who has done many trio projects with Rav in the aforementioned Kill Bill, Rekadam, the most inactive member of the collective, and most importantly to this topic, Aerospace.
Recently, many new EXO members have been added to fill out the roster. Aerospace joined the group sometime during 2018 and would be the final member for a few years. We're going to help propel the group to its moderate success it now sees. He was one of the new and upcoming artists in Exociety and varied quite drastically from the other members. His sound differed from the very melancholy mood of the others. However, he would release some tracks in that same vein. His sound was hard and brash at times, but felt new and fresh. Contrasted well with the other members of the group, and he would also produce a similar sound to the other members. Eros' addition to the group made the collective feel complete, and many modern fans of the group would associate him with the group and vice versa. Aerospace did excellent, and with his connection to the bigger names, Rav and Bill, he would come up extremely quickly. This is not to say that Rav or Bill made Aero, quite the opposite actually. His sound and talent carried him, and the 2 bigger artists merely shined light on the talented artist. He released some very notable tracks during his time at EXO, even releasing his most popular single, Sunshine Eternal, We're Better Off as Friends, during this time. Rav would feature on this track, and it remains Aero's most streamed song on Spotify to this day. Aerospace contributed extreme levels of talent to the group, which he would display in the first ever group tour. In 2022, EXO prepared to release singles, an album, and go on a nationwide tour almost all at once. The first half of the year will be littered with the most content the group has collectively put out at any one time. Many fans of the group were excited about the content they were getting, and as the tour began, it seemed to be doing great. Constant talk about the excellence of the tour littered fans' social media feeds. They toured all over the country, playing their solo acts individually, then coming together as a group to perform their new album, Deception Falls.
The album Deception Falls was named after a location in Washington State, in which the group stayed at a cabin together and worked on the album. The group would release a professionally filmed and edited documentary of this experience. This spectacle gave fans an insight to the group's relationship. The footage in this documentary had shown Exociety to be this tight-knit friend group making tracks together. Rav and Aerospace seemed to be extremely close. The tour was a big deal for everyone, and you have to keep in mind the scale of the collective at this time. No one at Exociety is mainstream, and every time the members or the group as a whole goes on a tour, it is a big deal for the fans. This tour was a huge accomplishment for EXO, and as emotions grew, tensions followed. Soon after the tour, animosity rose within the members of the group. The Deception Falls album would soon be released on a CD copy after the tour. In this CD, there's a booklet with pictures of the Deception Falls trip. The one that began the biggest controversy was an image of Rav and Aerospace with the caption, "Stop, you're scaring the white people." EXO's fans saw this potential racist comment and were immediately displeased. Aerospace would often post on his social media denouncing all forms of racism and made it clear that he felt the words in this booklet were unacceptable. Aerospace argued that this was a jab at him and the fact he was a black man. However, Rav would claim that this caption was directed at himself for being high and acting strange. Aerospace would go on a string of call-out posts and Rav would stay silent for a few days, later responding and apologizing for this phrasing. It is never confirmed who it was intended to be directed at. It is assumed that Aerospace was excluded from the making of the CD, and can be even further inferred that Rav had full creative control. Whether this was Rav's choice or if Aerospace didn't want to be involved is unknown. This is a common trend throughout this entire controversy, as little was shown from behind the scenes.
Aerospace would come out with many accusations about the group, but many of his accusations were unproven. The main claim from Aero is that they were disrespectful towards him and they were racist. Aerospace said that fellow member Square yelled at him early into the tour. Along with this, he would say that he had both friends and family die during the tour and would receive no support from the other members. While grieving, the other members would say that he was being standoffish. Aerospace described the other members as terrible friends and would go on to say that they discriminated against him. However, another black artist that was on the tour, no one important, a friend of Square's, would claim that he experienced none of this disrespect or racism. He would make many statements claiming that Aerospace was lying, but Aerospace came back with a rebuttal and wrote it off as him and no one important coming from different backgrounds and perceiving things differently. These things would bother Aerospace, but the main concern that held the most focus was the fans' behavior during the tour. Aerospace claimed that the fans were being racist, and unfortunately, this holds the most merit. Both Square and Kill Bill the rapper would come out with statements on Twitter demanding the fans to stop their racist behavior. All of these situations would accumulate and come out when the CD situation occurred, and eventually led Aerospace to denounce his departure from EXO. This departure would leave Aerospace with a bitter view of EXO long after he left. Months after leaving, Aero would make various statements about how poorly treated he was during his time in EXO. One notable statement would come as Aero was featured on the iHeart Radio podcast, with many other statements made and deleted on Instagram and Twitter. Both Aero and Rav would make songs that referenced the events of the situation.
It is not unfair to say that Aero was more obsessed with what happened, but without more knowledge, this can be seen as Aero being overly obsessive about the situation, or as a real victim trying to be heard.
There's never been a real conclusion to this situation. For a while, it completely destroyed Exosociety's reputation and releases. As of 2024, the group added 3 new members to further fill out their cast.
Aerospace still seems not to want a relationship with the group.
Fighting with humans. The humans are winning. Oh wait. Yeah, I understand winning.
He's about to hit him with the upside.
You're not alone. I'm with you. I'm going to.